These signs could be staring you in your face, but you may not be aware of them.
Welcome, stranger. You are now tuned in.
Tired of not knowing what your loved one wants? Don't know how to communicate your true feelings? Hi, I'm Teja Priyadarshini, and this is a show about love, sex, intimacy, and relationships. Learn how to communicate better and bring back the romance in your life. This is Game, Set, Love. Hi, I'm Teja Priyadarshini, founder for Akashic Cosmic Healing, a spiritual transformation coach, a psychic medium, and someone who loves love. I got a message from Ankita asking me about red flags. So let's talk about red flags. What are red flags? How can you make out that there are red flags in your relationship? Well, when I speak about red flags, you might have various opinions about what red flags could be, and some of you might tell me that red flags are things you don't like in a person. For example, their habits or behavioral traits, things like that, which is true to a certain extent, but there are other major red flags that you need to be worried about and pay attention to, because if this happens in your relationships, then it's time for you to reconsider the health of the relationship and the toxicity of it as well. So what are these red flags and how can you avoid them? The first red flag is when your partner tries to isolate you from your friends and family. This can happen slowly over time, but before you know it, you're spending all your time with your partner and have maybe little to no contact with anyone else. This can be a dangerous place to be in because it puts you in a very vulnerable position, and your partner can easily manipulate or control you in such a situation. So if this is happening to you and you don't know about it, then what I would suggest is to take like a little time out to evaluate your relationship and see how much of time you're spending with your partner and how much of time you're actually investing in doing all of the other things that you like your job, hobbies, spending time with family and friends, or even getting rest and having your me time. If all of these areas of your life are nicely balanced, then you're in a healthy relationship. But if you watch and observe and notice that you're spending more and more time with your partner and less time with everything else in your life, then it is time to stop and look at that red flag. What you can do and how you can overcome this is to always maintain your independence and make some time out for your friends and family. It's important to have that support system outside of your romantic relationships, and you should never feel guilty or ashamed for doing so. If your partner is making you feel guilty about something or making you feel that what you're doing is selfish, that's another big red flag. Another red flag is when your partner tries to control your every move. This can be very, very annoying, but initially when you're in a relationship, it might feel very endearing that your partner cares for you and probably is looking out for you, and that is why they want to know your every move. And this is not healthy, because as adults in a healthy romantic relationship, you have your time and you have together time with your partner. And this monitoring that your partner can do can come in forms of calling you up when you're out and about with your friends or family, or stalking your social media activity, telling you what to wear, or even dictating who you can and cannot be friends with. This kind of behavior is a sign of insecurity and can lead to a toxic and abusive relationship, and we don't want that. So if you are observing these things happening in your relationship, you need to stop and have a talk with your partner about these things. The solution is to set boundaries and communicate openly with your partner. If you feel uncomfortable or suffocated, it's important to speak up and let your partner know that their behavior is not acceptable and it's making you feel weird or uncomfortable or even unhappy sometimes. If your partner continues to act in this way, then it may be time to reconsider the entire relationship. It's time probably for you to let that relationship go, because when someone controls you in that way, trying to make sure that everything you do is according to what they want or they expect from you, it can be a little stifling, and you might feel that you do not have the freedom in that relationship. So it is important to communicate your boundaries very clearly and have that talk with your partner if this is happening with you. Sometimes it can be resolved if your partner is understanding. If not, and it leads to more and more toxicity, then it's time to reconsider your relationship with them. The next red flag is when your partner consistently makes you feel bad about yourself. Ouch. This is like one of those things that can happen. It's happened to me in my relationship where I was told that I was not good enough, that I should not smile, that I shouldn't do these things that make me happy. And it affected me in a way because I lost my self-esteem and I had hit rock bottom. And this can happen in any form of belittling. It can be belittling your achievements or constantly criticizing your appearance. This kind of behavior can lead to lack of self-confidence and self-worth, and that is what happened with me. The solution is to recognize your own self-worth and understand that you deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. These are basic qualities that everyone should be giving one another, and you should also be giving respect and kindness towards your own self. It's important that you respect and be kind to yourself, because when you are, that is when you will observe if someone else is being disrespectful or unkind to you. If this is happening in your relationship, try to communicate this with your partner and let them know that their behavior is making you feel unworthy or it's affecting your confidence. And if your partner continues to put you down, it's time to reconsider the relationship, because this is one of those big red flags. The final red flag we're going to discuss today is when your partner has a history of abuse or abusive behavior. This can be physical abuse or emotional abuse or sexual abuse or even financial or mental abuse. Abuse can come in many different forms. If you want me to talk about this topic, please let me know, because this is a huge topic and we tend to avoid looking at topics of abuse, and we don't even know sometimes when we're being abused, and that can have major impact on your mind and the way you behave, and also affect all of your relationships. So if there are signs of any sort of abuse and it's a clear sign that your partner is not capable of having a healthy and loving relationship with you, then it's time to reconsider, because you cannot avoid these signs or ignore these signs that your partner is exhibiting, especially if they're shouting at you or they hit you or they playfully bite you, and then they say things like, oh, I just did this as fun. Giving excuses for their behavior can also be a form of abuse, because when it hurts you and it creates say a physical mark on you, it is not fun. It is not easy to ignore these signs. The abuser can mask all of their abuse in form of being playful or having fun with you, but all the while trying to traumatize you in ways that you do not need to be traumatized in. There is nothing that should traumatize you, including and especially the way your partner in a loving relationships behave with you. If your partner has a history of abusive behavior and you're ignoring these signs, it can just get worse. And even if they do not have an abusive background, but you are seeing this abuse happening in your own relationship, then it's time to seek professional help, or at least reconsider the entire relationship, because that is not any way you should be treated by anybody. It does not matter if they're your romantic partner or your spouse or someone else, but nobody should be treated with any sort of abuse. There are plenty of resources available for those of you who have experienced abuse, and it's important to reach out and get the support you need. I, as a spiritual transformation coach, work with hundreds and thousands of people around the world who have gone through abuse and help them overcome it. Because I have been a victim of abuse myself, I understand that it is not easy to change that overnight, but it is important to recognize it and acknowledge it, and that's the first step in healing. So if you have a partner who is making you feel abused in different ways, whether it's physical, emotional, sexual, mental, financial, then it's time to stop and look at the relationship. Yes, and you may be giving yourself this excuse that, your partner hasn't had the best of childhoods, or his parents have been, unkind to him, or her parents or her society has done something to her and that is why she is the way she is. You cannot give excuses for your partner's behavior, because whatever it is, if they haven't healed that and aren't choosing to let that go and are coming into a relationship with all of that baggage and anger and abusive behavioral patterns, you don't have to be the victim. You don't have to be the one to take all of that on. It is not your responsibility. You can let that go.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
I hope these red flags have enlightened you, and if you have any questions about relationships, whether they're romantic or otherwise, you can always message me on my Instagram handle, which is Teja Priyadarshini. And next week I'm going to be talking about another interesting topic that you are going to write to me about. Until then, have a beautiful, wonderful, magical week ahead. Love you guys. Mwah. This is Game Set Love. Tune in every Friday at 7 p.m.